Hey there, so today I'm going to show you some techniques for creating textures that you can use to fill the inside of wounds. You can use them for other things as well. I'm going to show you 4 in total, starting with something really simple all the way through to something slightly more complicated. The materials I'll be using you may already have at home in the kitchen. There'll be some other things that you'll need to purchase from a special effects store. If there's any sort of substitutes for the materials, I'll definitely call it out or make a recommendation. These are just adaptations of things that I've seen on the internet already, and then there's a few things in here that I've made up myself, and hopefully you get something from it and enjoy. So what you'll need for this first technique is some nose and scar wax. I've just got the sort of plain skin nose and scar wax. And then you'll need something to color it, and preferably something that's either cream or wax based. So I've just got this Ben Nye contour palette here. You could also use some wax based makeups as well. I've also got these as well, the Ben Nye cream palettes too. And it really depends on what color, wax you want to create. So I generally create different colors that I can use to fill the inside of wounds. So I'll start with, a ball of wax like this, and then grab a bit of the coloring from the palette here. And what you want to do is sort of start off just with small dabs of color first, and then kind of keep adding to it as you go. So what you want to do is just knead this color into the wax, and your fingers will get a little bit messy doing this too, so be prepared for that. And this is, really just a personal thing, so you can kind of color it as much or as little as you want, but what you want to do is try and mix that kind of cream or wax color into the nose and scar wax as much as you possibly can. And what I do is I generally create kind of a variety of these and then keep them aside and use them as different fillers for makeup. So what you want to do is just keep rolling that around and keep adding color until you're happy with the kind of end result. And what you'll end up with is, I've just got this tray here of pre-mixed balls of wax that I've colored myself. So I've got something kind of slightly pinkier that I generally use just underneath the skin tone. I've got some sort of, pussy kind of greeny, grey, yellowy coloured wax as well that I can, use for things like fat. That's a slightly more lighter version of that again. There's not much of this one left, but, you can actually pigment them quite heavily too. So this is almost like a bright red color. I've used a lot of that already. And then these are just different varieties of pink as well. And the other thing you can also do is in a recent makeup, I just grabbed a ball of nose and scar wax and kept adding some black makeup to it to color it black, just so I could create this little guy here. So that's just a leech that I made for a recent makeup for Instagram. So that's it for the first one. So what you'll need for the next technique is a piece of banana and some flour. If you're allergic to banana, then you can try something else like mashed potato. A few people that have commented on a makeup that I did using banana have also tried things like custard as well. The only thing I'd say about custard is it doesn't quite have the same texture as banana does. You could probably add a little bit of flour to it like I normally do with this makeup, just to try and thicken it up a little bit more. Preferably corn flour. If you don't have corn flour, you can definitely just use regular flour. If you don't want to keep the color as it is, you could definitely add some coloring to this too. So if you're looking to kind of create the texture, you know, of an alien or something like that, or the inside of an alien. You could add a little bit of blue or green to it or something. If you wanted this sort of pus color to look a little bit more infected, you know, you could add some yellow as well, and that could either be in the form of food coloring, or, you know, you could scrape a little bit of eyeshadow or something like that in there as well. So I tend to put in just a small piece of banana and about, I don't know, maybe half a teaspoon of flour to start with. And again, this is like a personal thing. You know, you can kind of either mix it up as thick or as runny as you want to. The one thing I would recommend, however, is that you don't sort of mix it up too much. Leaving a bit of texture in there makes this look more kind of successful in the end too. So as you're mixing it, you notice that sort of liquid starts to come out of it. So I would just add a tiny bit more flour into that, maybe 1/4 teaspoon, and then just stir that round kind of gently as well. And then just sit that to the side and go ahead as you normally do with nose and scar wax and create a wound, preferably with an opening as well. So you want something for the sort of fat to seep out of. So what you'll need for this third technique is some latex. I've just got some brush on latex. You can use regular latex as well. You'll need some flocking. You can pick this stuff up from special effects stores. I think this is a couple of dollars a bag. Yeah, so $6 a bag. If you can't get your hands on this, you can also order a very similar thing off eBay from nail art supply stores, and they tend to come in these little canisters here, but it's basically exactly the same material. It's just material fibers ground up or crushed up into a powder, and you use these to color the latex. You need some 99.9% isopropyl alcohol. You'll need an alcohol-proof container to put some alcohol inside of. You'll need some smaller mixing containers. These are just shot glasses I picked up for about, I think, 50 cents each. And then what you'll also need is just a couple of spatulas as well. So preferably some metal spatulas. You could use just, you know, wooden tongue depressor as well. So that should do fine too. So what you want to do to start is grab a container and pour out a bit of latex into that container. And then grab the flocking, whatever color you want to make. I'll start with a bit of red. But just grab a decent pinch of flocking and add it in. The one thing that I suppose you need to be kind of mindful of when you're creating these is this is the end result. So when you're mixing the flocking through the latex, you'll notice it's, you know, almost like a pale, very pale pink color. Don't let that fool you, because after you put it through the alcohol and let it dry for a few days, that's generally the color that it comes out. It's obviously a mixture of the sort of natural color that latex dries out at, which is sort of more of a yellowy golden color, kind of like honey, and obviously red flocking too. So don't go too crazy with the flocking coloring. And what you want to do is just mix that around. Like that. And there are two ways you can do the next step. So if you want to, you could actually just grab a bit of 99.9% alcohol and pour that straight into this container now and start stirring around. And then, you know, you could let the alcohol evaporate out of that, or you could get an alcohol-proof container. This has actually got a couple that I did sort of earlier on, just kind of floating around in there. And what you want to do for this technique is just, you know, add sort of a decent amount of alcohol into the container. Don't worry about this either, like you can reuse this alcohol if you want to. This technique doesn't seem to kind of contaminate it too much either, so I generally keep this and then use it to clean my brushes. And what you want to do once you've mixed it is just sort of scoop it out into the alcohol. And then generally the clumps that come out as you're scooping it out tend to be, the size of the clumps that you'll end up with once it's kind of dried out. So I've now scooped that out into the alcohol, and you can just get a metal spatula or a couple of metal spatulas and go in and sort of, like tease this out a little bit and kind of add a bit of texture to it as well. So what you can do from here on is just grab a bit of paper towel and lay it down, somewhere to the side, and actually grab these pieces out and then just let them sort of sit there. So let, the paper towel absorb the excess alcohol. You could put these on a windowsill under some light or something like that as well to sort of help the drying process a little bit more too. So I think these are about 2 or 3 days old. If you wanted to, you don't necessarily have to color the latex either. So I use these as sort of meaty kind of fillers for wounds. You can break them up. You could glue them down to the skin and then sort of build up some scar wax around the outside. You could leave them uncolored, so you could just sort of drop regular latex into some alcohol. That's what this is here, and then create something like tendons or something like that.